What's up? Welcome in on another Friday edition of Lunchtime Live. Man, you know, we talk about the dog days of summer all the time, and usually there's this little bit of a lull and all that stuff after the Super Bowl. But I haven't seen one instance of that whatsoever. We've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to go a little bit all over the board. We're going to talk a little golf. We're going to talk some hockey because the hockey in Milan has been, the hockey in Milan, you know what I'm talking about, man. It's been ridiculously good, especially the last 5 games. What a scene yesterday. What a scene this morning. As Houdini Canada does it again. Eventually you think Am's going to break. But we're partway to what we wanted to see at the end. I'm also going to cross off another team off my... Actually, you know what? We're going to go a step further. It's Friday today. I'm going to cross 2 teams off the list of teams that cannot win the NBA title. Bad news for me. And before you make fun of me for this one of them was a little bit of a reach. Don't look up there anywhere and we're fine. One of them was a little bit of a reach. Another one I really believed in, but I'll tell you, neither one of them are going to win an NBA title. Do we need to have a conversation about a couple of guys, one of which I told you about a few days ago when we did our bold predictions on the show, that are now in the MVP conversation? Whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, the numbers literally, and not necessarily their numbers, are telling that story. We've got some NFL coaching news here. Don't sleep on the Raiders. I know they got a lot of holes. I know the coaching staff can't make plays for them. I get it. But Clint Kubiak is building quite the staff in Las Vegas. Maybe this is a dawning of a new era in the autumn wind of the Las Vegas desert. Doesn't really work together. We're going to have to work on that one. And obviously a huge weekend in college basketball. And a thank you to all of you out there. We do some assessments for this show, some checks and balances. There are some people I have to answer to. So a thank you message to everybody out there. So plenty of stuff to talk about. If you're watching along, feel free to comment along. Follow us on all of our social channels. At Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, as T says, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. Also, on our new and improved Facebook page that we've been telling you about, one of our FOPs, our guy You Got Roz, he got to the bottom of it. Too much sexiness on the original Facebook page. So, go to Facebook, type in Mike Arana Show. Just Mike Arana Show. Not the Mike Arana Show, as it used to be. I'm still bent about that, dude. We worked hard on that page. We've been doing this for 3 years. We've been doing the live shows now for about a little over a year and a half. That's what the banner on the new Facebook page is. Yes, it's actually us. And as you can see there, clearly, way too much sexiness on that picture. But that's where we're at there. So again, feel free to comment along if you're watching along. I'm going to try and steer you through this. We have another semifinal game in Milan to talk about coming up here in just a little bit. And if we do this right, here's the best part of it. I'm going to get you out and I'm going to get you ready. I'm going to put you right on the doorstep of the United States men as they take on Slovakia for the right to play Houdini, also known as Canada in this situation. But that's not where we're going to start today. And I don't know if you got a chance to see it yesterday or not. I've also got to tell you, and one of our followers, if he's watching, actually 2 of them, if they're watching today, are going to find great humor in this. I hurt myself again in a way that only I can find ways to hurt myself. Those of you that know me know I find very interesting ways to hurt myself. This one's a new one. So if it looks like I got hit by a baseball bat in the back of my head, there's a story to it. I'm going to take this as we start here because there is no better place for me to start on this Friday than what we saw yesterday. It was going on when T and I did Lunchtime Live yesterday. Conveniently timed. All the good stuff started right after we got off the air. Maybe that's a good sign for the U.S. men's team today as they look to get to that gold medal game. But I'm going to read this direct from our boy TJ's Facebook page. Young hockey players all across the country are going to emulate Megan Keller's incredible play for years to come. The stones to pull that out of the repertoire in the gold medal game, just incredible. I think T couldn't have nailed that any more direct on the freaking head than possible. If you did not see Megan Keller's goal yesterday that won the United States women a gold medal, finishing a absolutely dominant run by them to the gold medal, you got to see it. And unfortunately, I didn't realize this. Shout out to one of our favorite follows on X. Icy Vert was the one that actually tipped me off to this. How to actually post something from the Olympics and not get in trouble and have it pulled down. So we did post that. If you were following us on Twitter after the show, after that game was over, you saw whoever the dumbass that was operating our Twitter yesterday, our X yesterday had to post it 3 times before he figured it out. I'm the dumbass, but it was on there. The OT GWG, if we're taking one from Eddie O. What a freaking move. And of course, if it's a send-off for Hillary Knight, one of the greatest women's hockey players of all time, oh, captain, my captain, create traffic in front of the net. Tip drill, game's tied. And I think when we sit here and we assess what's been going on in the Olympic hockey games, especially the last 5 games, 4 of which have gone to overtime, and we're talking on the men's and women's side. We'll get to Houdini here in a minute. 2:04 left. And it did look like the U.S. women were pressing at the beginning of the game, back on their heels a little bit. But Hillary Knight gets in front of the net. Layla Edwards puts it on the net. Knight tips it in. We've got a tie game. We go to overtime. The new concept for Skip Bayless, 3-on-3 skating in overtime. Maybe the NHL should listen to this. I think in an elimination game, I'm not even just talking about the gold medal game yesterday. It is the dumbest damn thing in the world to be playing 3-on-3. There is some hockey purists out there that are going to agree with me, and there's some others that are going to say, no, it's way more exciting. 3-on-3 with the gold on the line, or 3-on-3 with elimination in the tournament on the line, I think is stupid. But nonetheless, that's where we got. And the move that Megan Keller made, I'm sure the neighbors, because I was still in here in the studio, had the window open. I'm sure the neighbors are going, what the hell is this guy possibly watching at this time on a Thursday afternoon that he's yelling? It's incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. And when we pull the lens back, if you will, what a dominant freaking run throughout this tournament from the U.S. women. It was ridiculous, and we said it at the beginning. Make sure you're watching the U.S. women play also. But the run that they went on, 33-2, they outscored their opponents. 5-0 over Sweden, 6-0 over the Italians, 5-0 in the first game against Canada, 5-0 over Switzerland, 5-0 over Finland, 5-1 against the Czechs, and 2-1 to get the gold yesterday. Just an absolutely ridiculous performance. I don't know where T got this yesterday. He sent it to me. I think it's hilarious. Obviously, the rivalry between U.S. and Canada in hockey. Man, that was... If you missed it, man, I'm sorry. Like, we talk about, like, moments that you'll remember in sports forever. Just absolutely freaking incredible. Shout out to the U.S. women's team. basically kicked the teeth in of every single participant in their path to get that gold medal. And I can't. I just can't get over that move by Megan Keller. You know, they always talk about how AI is coming to get our jobs. Somebody did an AI on, I think it was X, you know, Ask Grok, whatever the hell it is. Who is this? That was Team USA's Clayton Keller. No, it wasn't. Stay in your lane, robot. Incredible. I found out something else this morning, and I wish Vegas Mac was here because this is a Vegas Mac type conversation. The coaches don't get gold medals or any medals in Olympic hockey. I don't know about you. I think it's friggin' stupid. It's a team sport. The U.S. staff made the freaking decision to pull the goalie, get the extra attacker in there for Hillary Knight to have the tip that sent it to overtime. But, I mean, just, I can't say enough about it. And if you missed it, man, it sucks. I hope you saw the highlights. Obviously, with the Olympics, you can see it any time, especially if you have Peacock. But back to the gold medal thing, or the the coaches not getting medals. Our guy Jeff Schwartz on X literally wrote, "This is how I learned coaches don't get medals. I sort of understand the coach of an individual team maybe not getting a medal, but not in a team sport." I agree with him 1,000%. The picture that was put up by Michael Russo on X of the U.S. women's coach John Robleski asking Hillary Knight, "Can I check out your gold medal?" after they got done with all the ceremonies. That's stupid. But a lot of what the IOC does is absolutely stupid. Just a ridiculous, ridiculous game. And Aaron Frankel, the netminder for the U.S. team, one of the three that they used in this tournament, she allowed 2 goals on 99 shots. And if you saw the third period, if you were watching the show yesterday, you saw my eyes kept going like this because I had it on the other TV conveniently right to the camera. I get my TV guy over here to hang that up higher. But standing on her head in that entire third period, made a couple of huge saves in overtime before we got the Keller OT GWG. Shout out Eddie O. She was ridiculously 2 goals and 99 shots, and I get it. Not all the countries are you know, especially on the women's side, up to the same level of athletes that the U.S. women's team and the Canadian women's team and Switzerland, they don't have, you know, it's not the same level of competition. You're not littered with professionals all the way through it. But still, 2 goals and 99 shots? Aaron Frankel also has an Instagram, I found. This is fantastic. All she does on her Instagram, on this Instagram page of hers, is rate Caesar salads. It's incredible stuff. So again, shout out to the U.S. women's team. That was ridiculous. So much fun to watch. Then let's get over to the men's side. Because about a little less than 2 hours ago, Canada comes from behind again and defeats Finland 3-2 inside the last minute, trailing basically the entire freaking game. And it was just a matter of time. Sam Reinhart got the scoring started late in the second period for Canada. And Shea Theodore knotted it at 2 about halfway through the third period. Of all the guys, and by the way, I've gone ice cold on my goal scoring streak in hockey now. Went 9 straight consecutive goal scorer victory bets. Now I can't hit one to save my life. Shea Theodore would have not been anywhere near the top of my list of guys I was looking at. And then, about 9 minutes later, 36 seconds left in regulation. This one will shock you. Nathan McKinnon. From McJesus and the kid. And we talked about that Canadian first line. Nightmare fuel. Well, there you go. McKinnon from McDavid, his 11th apple in the tournament so far. Macklin Celebrini, his 5th apple in the tournament so far. McKinnon's 4th goal on the power play. So Canada moves on. The U.S. men's team getting ready to go here in about 20 minutes. If I do this right, we're going to be right there when we're done. Can Canada play like that against the U.S. men, assuming that the U.S. men can get through Slovakia? And we talked about it very briefly. We were kind of running out of time yesterday on the program, but when you looked at the matchups in the semifinal on the men's side, definitely the easier path, if you will, for the U.S. I'm not saying that Slovakia is not going to play their asses off today, because you know they will. But out of Canada, the U.S., and Finland on the men's side, all but one player on those 3 teams not currently in the NHL. Slovakia, they only have 6 guys currently in the NHL. Can the U.S. get to where we expected them to be? Can we get that rematch at 5:10 in the morning on the West Coast? And for those of you that don't know, the reason that the game is on 5:10 in the morning on the West Coast is because of the closing ceremonies. It's not just some stupid idea. If you look back in the history, and I can't find the tweet right now, but if you look back in the history of the local start time in the gold medal men's hockey game, it is always at 2 o'clock locally. Adjust your times. We've been talking a lot about time zones this week, thanks to the NFL. Adjust your times, and that's where you get to. Billy V checking in on this Friday here, and yeah. I mean, that's exactly where I thought they were. And then you nailed it. Great one there. You can't go into that shell defense and get back on your heels there, and you see why. Other hockey news, this is fantastic stuff, by the way. From Monday to Wednesday, the Cottage Grove and St. Paul U12 girls teams in Minnesota. I had to read this like 3 times to make sure it was right. Played through 12 overtime periods. After the score was tied 1-1, they literally had to change the rules to incorporate a shootout where Cottage Grove took home, in this post from Bar Down on X, the long-awaited win. That's courtesy of KSTP5 Eyewitness News. 3 days to settle a hockey game. Maybe if they would have went to 3-on-3, it would have finished earlier. That's incredible, though. 3 days, you have to change the rules in the middle of it just so somebody can win. That's dynamite stuff, man. That is absolutely dynamite stuff. Let's get to the NBA. You know, we made our bold predictions on our social channels yesterday. NBA back in action last night. I saw the future last night, by the way. Max sends me a text. Celtics Warriors. This is where I'll start. He sends me a text. It was about 9:10. I was doing some edits for the show, trying to put together the rest of my freaking studio here that we decided to rip down, and then I didn't realize how much it was going to take to put it back together. Shout out to the wife there. That's why the backdrop looks different. But he sends me a text. He sends it to us on the group message last night. So I'm just going to read this to you. It is 9:10. Is your team going to play any defense tonight, Max says. Speaking of the Warriors as they were playing the Celtics. I text him back, and this is legit. I'm not watching legitimately, but if I had to make a guess, if it's halftime, I'd say the Warriors are probably down 18. Gave up 67 in the first half, and either DeAnthony Melton or Will Richard is the Dubs' leading scorer. Plus, do you think I'm a dummy? Celtics minus 5.5 was like stealing money tonight. Right at the same time, T chimed in, and he goes, I'm assuming you're talking to the HMFIC because I don't have a team. Well, legitimately, I wasn't watching. No Steph Curry on the floor. Like, there was no reason to watch. Boston was going to kick their ass no matter what. The score at halftime was 74-51. And the Warriors' leading scorer was Will Richard. Talk about knowing your team. The end of that game got a little dicey. I did turn it on. Not that you guys need this information, but I'll give it to you anyways. I did turn it on in the shower because I figured the Celtics were kicking the Warriors' ass, which they were. Because if the Warriors were kicking the Celtics' ass, I know Mac wouldn't have sent me that text. The game got really close down the stretch. Warriors actually outscored the Celtics with a ragtag group of guys that were playing last night for the Warriors. Not the greatest night for Draymond Green. 0 points on 0 for 7 from the floor. A minus 28. Jaylen Brown had a triple-double, I think, before the end of the third quarter. And I think it was well before the end of the third quarter. And Peyton Pritchard, man, I don't think Peyton Pritchard for the Celtics gets anywhere near the attention he deserves. 6 of 11 from 3, 26 points. Actually led the Celtics in scoring last night. Sam Hauser was good. Derek White, not a great game, but they didn't need it. Warriors were led by DeAnthony Melton and Guy Santos and Will Richard. That Celtics team, and we're going to talk about why that Celtics team really needs to be paid attention to in the East here in just a second. That Celtics team, man, I don't know. You could make a case for a lot of guys right now to be Coach of the Year. Obviously, J.B. Bickerstaff is the guy that's going to jump off the page to everybody. That Celtics team, battle-tested, and there is that big wild card. When and if and how effective will Jason Tatum be when he returns for the C's? Because if you look at the East right now, we talked about the state of New York sports. It's not good. A lot of questions surrounding the Yankees. A lot of anticipation surrounding the Mets, which hasn't always worked out well for the Mets. The Knicks were kind of the sure thing. At least it looked like that at the beginning of the year. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. This team can't play a lick of friggin' defense. And we talked about Gonzaga and their prospects for March Madness and why I'm kind of bullish on Gonzaga, but they can't shoot a damn free throw. The Knicks can't play defense. And the crazy thing is last night, in the 126-111 victory at the Garden for Detroit, who did not have either one of their big guys, is that was the closest the Knicks have played the Pistons this season. Losing by 15 to them. They lost by 38 on February 6th at Detroit. The Knicks did. And then they lost by 31 in January when they played at Detroit. Swept by the Pistons. If you think the Pistons are just playing good ball and they shouldn't be taken seriously, I know everybody starts watching the NBA usually after the Super Bowl. This Detroit team is for real. To go into the Garden without Duren and Stewart last night and beat the living hell out of the Knicks, who couldn't hit the broadside of a freaking barn last night. Do I sound a little angry? Because I'm a little angry. Because they're the only reason I didn't hit my big bet last night. Because they played like friggin' dogs. 8 of 35 from 3. And that's kind of the thing with the Knicks. They're not hitting the 3. We know they're not going to play defense. This is what happens. OG Anunoby, 1 of 8 from 3. Karl Anthony Towns, 1 of 4 from 3. Mikal Bridges, 0 for 3 from 3. Jose Alvarado, 0 for 5 from 3. And you would think after getting your ass kicked twice by the Pistons that you would go, we need to make somebody other than Cade Cunningham beat us. Not the Knicks. 42 points, 8 rebounds, 13 assists from Cade Cunningham last night. And if you bet his over on his points and rebounds total, yeah, he went over that by 20. He was at 30.5 last night. They got their asses kicked at home coming out of the break by a team that didn't have their 2 starting big guys. Their 2 most important big guys, however you want to put it together. The Knicks can't play defense. Blake Griffin talked about this a lot in the pregame on the Amazon Prime Studio show about Karl Anthony Towns and how he's too passive. Dwayne Wade said it during the broadcast last night. How many times are you going to throw the same defensive look at Cade Cunningham and go, hell, this isn't working? Apparently, maybe in the fourth time they play. And you know this Pistons team. Dwayne Wade talked about this last night too. Has been waiting for the Knicks all year. Now, can they get it done in the playoffs when it counts? That remains to be seen. Let me tell you another thing that we need to pay attention to here. My bold prediction for the second half of the NBA season was that the San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves would be the Western Conference Finals. And I went a step further, if you were watching the show on Wednesday, and I said I think Victor Wembanyama is going to play his way into the MVP conversation. Well, Cade Cunningham, we always talk about it. Guys got to have a signature moment in a big spot. Cade Cunningham did that last night. There is no better place in the NBA to have a signature moment than at the Garden. Well, let's look at the numbers here. SGA is down to a minus 150. Joker, plus 320. The next two guys on the list, Cade Cunningham at plus 500. Victor Wembanyama at plus 2,200. Obviously, Wemby's going to have a hell of a finish here for the Spurs, who handled their business last night against the Suns. Devin Booker leaves the game for the Suns with a little bit of a hip injury, something to keep an eye on. The Suns, who've played tremendous basketball, exceeded expectations. They were led by Jalen Green last night with 26 points. Just a ho-hum game out of Wemby, though. 17-11 and 5 blocks last night. The Spurs, 39-16, one win away from that 40th win before the 20th loss that we were talking about. The Celtics, 36-19. I think I said this. I might have went dyslexic there. 39-16 for the Spurs, 36-19 for the Celtics. We talked about it. The Celtics would have to go on a 5-game winning streak with kind of a tough road trip out of the gates. Really could have sat a lot of guys last night, but they let the fourth quarter. The Warriors outscored the Celtics 37-19 in the fourth quarter last night. And the Clippers showed up to play last night, knocking off Jokic and the Nuggets. Joker, 22 points, 17 rebounds, 6 assists. Why should you take Cade Cunningham and Victor Wembanyama seriously? Well, remember, because of all the different ways that we try and get guys to play in the NBA, you have to play a minimum number of games to be eligible for all NBA and postseason awards. You've got two guys in SGA and Joker that are running out of games that they can't play in. You could say that those two guys might be the MVP, but because of the qualifications to be MVP, I wouldn't wait any longer. If you're vibing on what I'm saying, and I'm not just pulling this out of my ass on Cade Cunningham, now is kind of the time you want to jump on that, because at 5-1, with what he did in the Garden last night for his team in Detroit, that is the top seed in the East, and by 5.5 games over a very good Celtics team. The Pistons are 41-13. 8-2 in their last 10 games. Next up, they've got the Bulls. So go ahead and make them 42-13. Don't wait. Don't wait. Anthony Davis he's always screwed. You got Rouse checking in. Yeah, Anthony Davis will never win any more NBA awards because he'll never get to that minimum number. A couple interesting games tonight. Charlotte, off of a great game last night. They fell a little bit short to the Rockets. KD was KD last night. That was a really good game. They're back in action against Cleveland tonight. Dallas and Minnesota, that's going to be a bloodbath. Milwaukee at New Orleans. Milwaukee's been a little spry lately. Bobby Portis, if you're on a certain site right now, is over-under for points tonight, 13.5. I've got a couple of bets I'll drop out here right before we get off. I don't think I'm going to get done before the game starts, but we're going to do the best we can. We're close. We're close. Lakers, Clippers tonight. We talked about the stretch, the 28-game stretch for the Lakers. Probably the most important 28-game stretch in the history of the Lakers because of what's on tap for the offseason with the Lakers and what decisions do they make. They get a Clippers team who played a tight, close, down-to-the-wire finish, one-point game against Denver last night. Can the Lakers come out to play? Denver goes from Los Angeles. They're in Portland tonight. Portland, another team that's kind of game. So we've got some good games on the NBA schedule. It's got a couple NFL coaching news and notes out here, and I mentioned this kind of off the top. And I really am digging what's going on in Las Vegas right now. Really digging what's going on in Las Vegas. The staff that Clint Kubiak is putting together, at least they've got the right minds in the building. And Clint Kubiak talked about it. He's like, why not this staff? Why not here? Why not in Las Vegas? Well, what was the biggest problem with the Raiders last year? Outside of a lack of talent, their offensive line was terrible. Terrible. They bring in Rick Dennison from Minnesota. If you don't know much about Rick Dennison, you talk to people around the league, one of the better offensive line coaches in the entire league. He's there. But that's not where they stopped. That's not where Kubiak stopped. And I think this is something that a lot of people have forgotten. Clint Kubiak isn't some dude they just pulled off the trash heap that said, then they went, we're the Raiders. We got a long way to go. We'll bring in this guy. Clint Kubiak's connected, man. He's connected all over the league. And you look at the staff that he's putting together right now, pretty damn impressive. Andrew Giannakko, Kubiak brought him from Seattle. He's been with Kubiak. There's a rare check-in from TJ. Ole! Yeah, that's it. The Las Vegas Matadors. That was exactly what they were. But this staff he's putting together, and I know T probably doesn't like the fact that I think he can kind of sense where I'm going with this. They bring in Giannakko as the new offensive coordinator. Rob Leonard, who's been in Vegas for 3 seasons. Strong connection, most notably with Max Crosby. He was promoted to defensive coordinator. Mike McCoy, former NFL head coach, on the same staff in Denver with the Broncos in 2017. Also on that staff, coached with Clint Kubiak's father, Gary, in Denver, Joe DeCamillis, their special teams coach. So a lot of people are going, wow, who's this Kubiak guy? I mean, you all should know after the Super Bowl. He's connected, man. And Rick Dennison is the hire of all hires there to me. Because you're going to most likely be starting a rookie quarterback right out of the chutes. A rookie quarterback that is full of confidence. Does that necessarily mean he's going to have a great rookie year? Not right now, not with the team the Raiders have around him. But this coaching staff that they're putting together, and here's another one that is not going to get a whole lot of headlines because he's not the defensive coordinator. But also, and this is all over the last handful of days, Kubiak's not wasting any time here. Rennell Williams leaves the Eagles to join the Raiders coaching staff as their next linebacker coach. Why is that a big deal? Well, I don't know. The guy who was solely responsible for the development of Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, that's a pretty good feather to have in your cap. If Leonard does a good job as a DC and the Raiders have a good year and Leonard goes and gets a head coaching job, that's probably a guy who's going to be their next defensive coordinator. And if you've made Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean, you've aided in their development, yeah, I'm going to have a conversation with you. I really, really like what they're doing. Obviously, you can have a staff of the best coaches of all time. You need players. But I think we're really, 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 and we've talked about this, we're really seeing Tom Brady's thumbprint on the Raiders this time through. Obviously, we know it didn't work out great last year, but that's where we're at. Other coaching news, Nate Scheelhaus, whiz kid, Sean McVay's right-hand man, thought he was going to get a head coaching job this cycle. He's been promoted to offensive coordinator of the Rams, replacing Mike LaFleur, who is now the head coach of the Cardinals. Wish him well. Rent, don't buy. Nate Scheelhaus, probably a year or two away. Not bad to be a first-time offensive coordinator when Matt Stafford's still doing what he does. Again, the Rams trying to get back to the Super Bowl, a home Super Bowl, for the second time in 6 years this season. I love the comments out of Seattle yesterday. And not that I need to gush and glow on Mike McDonald anymore, but in talking about how he's putting that staff together and a first-time offensive coordinator calling plays for them, and Mike McDonald steps up and he goes, everybody's a first-time offensive coordinator at some point in their careers. No shit. Why did we have to say that? But again, this is Mike McDonald, and he's backing his guy. Who's that guy? Brian Fleury. Longtime Niner assistant. Here we go with the whole Kubiak, McVay, Shanahan, that whole mess. Basically, if you're playing football on the west side of the Mississippi, you have some connection to Mike Shanahan. Somehow, some way now. I think that might be a prerequisite to actually coach west of the Mississippi in the NFL. Fleury's comments, obviously you win a press conference, it's not worth a damn thing. Physical, aggressive, and fast. DraftKings dropped their win totals for next season, and I'll echo something that our guy Jared Smith said on X. If you're jumping on win totals now, you're a fool. He didn't say that. I'm going to paraphrase to that. Don't jump on win totals now. The interesting thing about it is there's 10 teams that their win total right now is set at 10.5. Obviously, those numbers are going to move as we get to March 9th and free agency and obviously the draft. But it was interesting because Niners, Seahawks, Rams, win total, 10.5. Don't bet win totals now. If you're going to, open your car window, take a piss into the wind, and then maybe some of that money will come back this way. College basketball tonight sets up an incredible day tomorrow. We've talked about it a few times this week. VCU and St. Louis tonight. Hopefully the fans can not fight each other, as we've seen in those games a few times. Purdue coming off of the pasting from Michigan. They're back at Mackey against Indiana. Purdue's favored by 11.5. Miami of Ohio still undefeated. Don't at me. They're undefeated. If you've heard their coach, who's getting talked to a lot now, there's a lot of people that didn't want to play Miami of Ohio. So are we going to continue to critique Miami of Ohio because they got a soft-ass schedule, even though they're undefeated? If that's the way you want to roll, man, go for it. So sweat off my back. That's a tournament team. And they should be a tournament team point blank. Don't forget, noon Eastern, tomorrow, on CBS, with the committee chair, you're going to find out who the top 16 teams are in the NCAA tournament right now. I'm very much paying attention to that. Because I see one of two things happening, potentially. I see a West region that ends up with Arizona, Purdue, Gonzaga, and it's a region full of who the hell do I count on now to get through to the Final Four? Gonzaga is the right answer to that, by the way, if that's how it goes. I'm also interested to see what I think they're calling it the South region. It's the Houston region. I've got a pretty good feeling this committee's got a sense of humor, and for travel reasons, that Florida and Houston end up in the same region. Now, whether Florida is the 2 seed in that region or whether they're the 3 seed remains to be seen. But I've got a pretty good idea that Houston and Florida are going to end up in the same region. Just a couple minutes here. I think the puck just now dropped, so bear with me because the last thing is really important to me. But those are your 3 games tonight. Obviously, the headliners tomorrow, Duke and Michigan, Arizona and Houston. If you want to know where I'm leaning, Houston's playing at home. They're 5.5-point favorites. It doesn't look like Koa Pete's going to be available for Arizona. And as Mac mentioned, and it's as true as you can hit a nail on the head, that Houston team dogs your ass the whole game. Now, again, I'm catching feelings for the Wildcats. Karchenkov and Del Orso, if they play like they did the other night, it's going to be an interesting one. UConn and Villanova. How does UConn respond from their loss again to Creighton at the Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia? That one's got a good time placement, too. Because you got Arizona and Houston at noon on the West Coast. You've got UConn and Nova at 2:30 on the West Coast. And then at 3:30, you do have Michigan and Duke. Mick Cronin, I'm fortunate I've got enough screens. I'm going to have Illinois and UCLA on. Because after that freaking embarrassment, that he came out and apologized to both player and UCLA for looking like an asshole, basically, and damaging the brand. Now he gets an Illinois team that just pasted USC. And USC is a way better team than UCLA is. I saw on X today somebody called him Boss Baby, and I couldn't stop laughing. Iowa State and BYU, nightcap from the Marriott Center in Provo. An incredible freaking day of college basketball. It's the perfect time for it because we're all here. What do I like tonight? I'll throw these out. Again, I've told you I've had a horrible week in college basketball, so maybe go opposite of all of these. Canisius and Ryder went under 131. Detroit Mercy is only favored by 1.5 over Milwaukee. That thing stinks out loud to me. I like Detroit in that one. St. Louis to bounce back off of their win. They're covering 8 tonight. If they do that, Purdue to pound Indiana, they'd have to cover 11.5. And Miami of Ohio, minus 8.5 to stay undefeated. I mentioned earlier that the Bucks are playing the Pelicans. Bobby Portis' number, really, really low. 13.5. Definitely like that over. He's going to have to probably do most of that early. I don't know. I mean, that game might actually end up being closer than it is, but Bobby Portis is about as consistent as they get right now for Milwaukee. I like the Lakers to crush the Clippers tonight. And Naz Reid over 14.5 points. He was the one that's actually plus money if it's still there. Dallas is at Minnesota tonight. We know Dallas is terrible. Terrible. I like Naz Reid to get over 14.5 points. He comes off the bench anyways. It's going to be an ass kicking. He might have to do that early, but that's where I'm at. As far as tomorrow, Michigan and Duke, I don't know. I really don't. We talked about Cameron Boozer earlier this week. I think it's going to be, and not saying that Michigan doesn't have fans, but the game's being played in D.C. Duke has fans everywhere. I think probably a little bit more pro-Duke crowd, but I like the Devils in that game. And I like Houston to easily cover that number. Nova and UConn, I don't really know what to do there. All right, I told you I had a thank you, and this is important to me. A lot of you guys have been with us from step one. Literally step one. And, you know, at the end of football season and the beginning of football season, we look at, you know, our metrics, our analytics. According to T, boom, Dylan Larkin, lamplighter. But I'm going to finish this so we can all watch some hockey here. Long and short of it is, we had over this past football season a 50% growth across all of our channels. And while I might be a little bit of a stickler for where I want us to be, those of you that have been day oneers with us, I can't thank you enough. Those of you that continue to share our stuff, to tell your friends, to tag your friends, I can't thank you enough. And I know I'm speaking for the guys. I'm speaking for our whole crew. To have a 50% growth while we've been dealing with connection issues, we lost our damn Facebook page, all of that stuff. We've got some absolutely dedicated people that watch this show all the time. You laugh with us, you win with us, you lose with us. There's a lot of people that you never see involved in this project. So to be able to total those up and send those off to the people I need to send them to, the people that I have to answer to, I can't thank all of you enough for that growth. And We're adding more shows next year. We're doing more next year. You're going to see a whole change to the interface of how we do everything. We've got more content coming out in a lot of different areas. To the people that have supported us, thank you. That is a pretty ridiculous growth, all things considered. And I know we're just going to keep getting better. So thank you. No show next Thursday and Friday. And this kind of goes with my thank you. It is the wife's 5th anniversary of her 10th anniversary of her 25th birthday. And we're taking a couple days off. So no show on Thursday and Friday. We will have our normal shows on Tuesday and Wednesday, 5:30 on the West Coast, 8:30 on the East Coast. I cannot wait 2 more weeks to where TJ's back on the same time with us. I don't have to watch the Sharks at 8 o'clock at night anymore. I said the Sharks because I canceled the NBA League Pass yesterday because there's no point in me watching it. That Steph Curry issue with the Warriors and his knee, a little questionable. But wife's birthday next week, so we're gonna do a couple things. I'm not even really sure what we're doing yet. I kind of just let her make the call. She sacrifices a ton. The wives connected to all those people on the show, not just the 3 of us you see, not just the 3 of us knuckleheads that do this and get to work as one of my mentors told me early in this business. Work in the toy department. That's what we get to do. This is freaking incredible, and I love all of you. And thank all of you that are along with the ride. The wives connected to all the people in this program are absolute freaking saints for putting up with us and letting us do what we do. So a huge shout out to everybody there. Again, back on Tuesday night, 5:30 on the West Coast, 8:30 on the East Coast. Tuesday will be me and T. Wednesday will be myself and Mac. Again, follow us on all of our social channels. More stuff coming up today and throughout the weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the rest of the hockey. Enjoy what I'm assuming is going to be U.S. and Canada. There's spring training going on right now. Games today. Let's do the damn thing. Have a great weekend, everybody. We appreciate the hell out of you. And you know the drill by now.